Welcome back. Another day, another night, another drive. And the first in the day, the evening and the morning, the third day? Sixth day? Something like that. One of those days. That's how they all go. That's how the framing is on all of them. I'm sitting here staring out at the traffic and wondering when it's going to be my turn to go. Because there's a lot of people in cars. And they're all trying to drive the same way I am. Which, I mean, that's how cities work. Everybody wants to go roughly the same direction. That's how freeways work, is we're getting a lot of people a lot of places, so there ends up being a lot of people on them. What is this? See, this thing, that thing bothers me a lot. You can barely see it. There's a couple of these that like get long enough and they poke out, and one of them all just stick together. I get mustache wax for my teeny tiny mustache hairs, little bitty ones. It's probably like really weird, isn't it? I just sat there and touched my face for a little bit. Took up a chunk of video time just poking at my face. What a weirdo. Go. Yeah. Let somebody in and keep things moving. And oh no, a Steelers fan. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really care about it. I suppose I would have to finish that thought in order for the joke to work at all. I just paused to let somebody in. And on the back of their vehicle is a giant Steelers sticker, and their license plate frames Pittsburgh Steelers license plate frame, and yeah, so that wasn't funny. Oh wow, I think something about the reflection makes my eyes look really watery. Guys, I really care, okay? No, I don't. What? I think that's just the light. It is kind of humid out because it's raining ever so slightly. So it just kind of fills the air with water. It's odd. The weather is definitely wetter here by a lot. A lot. It's wet all the time. Everything is always slightly damp, and there's water everywhere. But it doesn't rain more, like we don't get more inches of precipitation than Flagstaff does. Actually, we get dramatically less. Northern Arizona gets way more precipitation by inch. It just all comes in about 2 months. And then snow, which behaves completely differently when it comes to humidity and environmental moisture. Tell me, dear viewer, single viewer, I guess, how do you feel about the word moist? I'm not really sure what that's about. Like, is there... What about it is, like, really upsetting to people? I'm not really sure. I know a couple people who are bothered by it, and does it just sound off? Does it have weird connotations to you that some kind of gross? There are some gross connotations to it. Like, I guess I get that. I feel like damp is much worse, right? Damp. Oh man, I don't know if I like this right in the middle like that, where it's all center frame. I think the earlier ones were slightly off center, and I think I like that more. We'll see when we take it to the video editor, which made a resolution. I got hard derailed on video editing, and it took me like 4 days to get a third of the way through one of the daytime videos because there's just so much to it. So I'm shelving that for right now, and then I will go through and skip back to the nighttime ones and start getting things posted, and then catch up. I might even skip to the front-facing ones. I might even just post this one and then put up the historical ones later, you know, and call them from the archives or whatever. So that there's at least like new things coming up and content being produced, and it doesn't look like a dead channel. It's not a dead channel. It's just I got derailed. That, and I've been staying super late at work, so I don't get nearly as much time to work on them as I'd like. So it all kind of converged in a morass of not getting anything done. Just turning them wipers up. Oh, Range Rover's going places. And I think this guy behind me really wants to go places, so I will just let him or her where they're going, or they're trying to let me in. Okay. Thank you. Scoot over one more and be not in your way. Yeah. Can you see the windshield wiper on the back if I turn it on? Yeah, a little bit. Kinda can. Button, that's the button for the rear window defog thing, because it's a little shaky right now. Not super critical. I don't need to see much detail at the back. I just need to see, are there headlights behind me? How close together are they? Kind of spooky how your eyes can do that, right? How your eyes and brain can do that. There's a lot of trigonometry and calculus that goes into estimating how fast something is going. If you think about figuring out how far away a pair of headlights is and how fast it's approaching, it's based on how far apart the headlights you see are and how fast that's changing. And to actually write out, you know, to sit down and have, say, a computer figure that out, you have to know a lot of trigonometry to get the distance from the angle, or to get your distance to them from the distance between the two. Ratio thing. You have to know a lot of calculus to get the change in distance over time, and your brain just kind of does all that automatically. Like, it's got built-in circuits for doing that, which it turns out is a neat analogy to a lot of how high-end FPUs work, floating point units. So when in your computer you have a processor, you actually have a lot of processors in almost every computer. The one that everyone thinks of off the top of their heads is the central processing unit, or the CPU, which has a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things. But to put it really simply, really briefly, there is a set of instructions that describe behavior. And each set of these instructions roughly corresponds to a little series of logic gates. In each of those, and so basically each little series is an operation, whether it's moving a file around or adding numbers together or whatever. And usually it narrows down pretty hard to a couple of simple operations, and then you get a lot of other systems on top of it that make those operations work, and you just pile all these systems on top of one another, and then you get a computer. But the way to make a computer work really fast, particularly at the architecture level, so the way you make one processor, say your i5 or your i3 Intel series processor, versus, for example, a cell processor, which is what they have in a PS3 and I think a PS4. What's the big difference? Well, there's rules about what instructions you can and cannot give, and those rules correspond roughly to the little packages of logic gates. So the way you make an architecture more efficient is by cutting down on the number of gates you use, and that involves a lot of really interesting math, sorting out logic. And alternatively, if you have spare space, you make specialty sets, right, or specialty units. Well, there's an operation called they're floating point mathematics are very time consuming in traditional architectures. Notably in the x86 architecture and anything based off of that family of CISC architectures. CISC is what they're called. It takes a lot of computation time and a lot of computations to do any kind of what's called floating point mathematics, where it's based on these numbers that have so-called decimal places and fractional values and that sort of thing. So one way that people get around this is with the inclusion of what are called floating point units, FPUs. And a floating point unit has very specialized logic built into it that allows you to do floating point calculations very quickly and with not a whole lot of power overhead. The problem is they take kind of a lot of space on a chip, and you can't really use them for anything else. So CPUs have to do a lot of different kinds of things, so they need very generalized instructions and very generalized sets of logic gates. Ooh, that was the worst time I could have for a yawn. That you need very generalized sets of instructions, and so including a lot of these FPUs to speed up that sort of thing is not cost effective, basically. Graphics operations are a specific form of computing that involve lots of floating point operations, which, as we've established, are very slow in a general architecture. and it requires a lot of them. So the graphics processing unit, or the GPU, was developed, and it is built primarily of FPUs, and it is built to be able to do hundreds or thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of these operations at the same time. Because in graphics, you don't have to, like, if you look at a picture, there's no real reason why you need to do each bit of that picture sequentially, right? You don't have to do the first pixel and then the second pixel and then the third pixel. There's no reason you can't do them all at once and figure that out, or do it all in sections, or however it's split up. So you have to do a lot of calculations, but you can do them all at the same time, and they're all the same kind of calculations. So these FPUs were developed as a way to do these calculations very fast, and then you separate it out into its own chip, where it gets its own architecture and doesn't have to rely on working around these general purpose logic units. The downside, of course, is that there's a lot of things that a computer needs to do that they don't do very well, because they have all of their energy bundled up in these FPUs. So you put them together, revise the architectures a little bit so they can work together, and then you can offload all that calculation to something that's designed to do it much faster but can't do much else. Where we were going with this. So the analogy we're drawing, then, is with when your brain does calculus to figure out how far apart, or how far away and how fast a car on the freeway is. Wow, bringing that right back. So the issue is that your brain is actually quite slow. Human neurons do not fire very fast at all. But they are very general purpose. They can do a lot of different things. And they do them all reasonably equivalently. Well, thanks to the magic of evolution, your brain comes from a long history of brains that have had the opportunity to try out different configurations, and they have stumbled across and sort of tweaked and refined a reasonably functional configuration that has a lot of built-in logic units that are designed specifically for tracking how far things are and how fast they're going. Calculus is a very generalized tool. It does a lot of things, and it does them all as well as it does anything. These sort of visual distance calculations are a very specified set of that, and you can use calculus tools to do it, but it takes your brain a lot of time. Your brain has, like I said, specialized circuits for judging these, and so while you can't use those circuits very well to do anything else calculus related, you can judge how far away something is and how fast it's going pretty quickly and pretty accurately with specialized hardware. So your brain's ability to judge distances and speeds in the real world kind of fits into a sense of how smart your brain is in roughly the same way that a computer's ability to render graphics fits into how fast or how effective it is. That was a weird comparison, and mostly just involved me lecturing about stuff. But computer architecture is a thing I know something about, so I hope that was illuminating for someone. I hope someone thought that's a neat way to look at that. And if you did, that would be awesome. It would be great if you said so. If you did not, and you thought I was totally wrong, I would like to hear that too, because then I can update my thoughts or my beliefs. So either way, it would be great to find out more. or hear back from anyone who actually watches these. And then we can go from there. I tell you what, it's getting about that far into the video, so I will stop here and catch up with you in a little bit when we do the dark half of the video. I mean, there's a huge dark segment in the middle there, but as I kind of fade into the distance here, let's check back in a moment and see what kind of frivolous and or update based news I can give you. Yeah. And now we return for the dark portion of the drive. It's actually not that dark for the first half of this segment of the video, is it? It's reasonably visible. Visible. Isabel. Rhiannon. I don't know. That went to strange places. So I'm just gonna let it be what it was. Me adjusting the camera. Hopes it will be a little more stable, because it really bothers me when it shakes around. Oh, a little bit faster than I want to. Let's go down here. So, what's on the docket today? Do the whole thing in like a voice changer voice? The whole thing really low? I don't know. How low can I make my voice get? Probably about like this. I think this is about as low as it will get. And I think that this isn't a particularly good voice. Like, it's not a real voice. I feel like the voice that I'm making isn't what a real voice at this pitch would sound like. It doesn't feel to me like it's going through all the bits and pieces of my vocal anatomy that make my voice sound natural. But I think that's just because I have a really unnatural relaxation in my vocal cords there. Ooh, so many people out and about. It's so rainy right now. I've commented on that. It's often rainy. Which is kind of why I moved here. I like the rain, you know, among other things. There are many things that I do like about the area, but the rain is one of them. And I really like the reaction I get from people when I tell them that I moved here for the weather. Because I meet a lot of people who've been in this area for a very long time, so they're kind of sick of it. You know, they grew up where it rains a lot of the time, and the idea of a place where it hardly ever rains is really exciting and enchanting to people from up here. But coming from a place where it hardly ever rains, rain is an excellent thing, and it usually makes my day a little better. So I kind of like the weather up here. Wow, I yawn there like every single time. That's so crazy. That's too much yawning. Yawning. Yanni plays piano, maybe? I don't know. Ooh. That might be a texty message. I might have a texty message on my phone. I'm not going to look at it, though, because it's irresponsible to text and drive. Don't text and drive, kids. Adults. People in between. Don't do it. Gonna have a bad time, okay? Mixing references there. Okay. We're gonna mix up our references a little bit, okay? Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, I do voices, and I think they're lots of fun. I haven't done a whole bunch of them for this project yet, and maybe if I do, then that will be a fun thing, and that will be a thing that is me sauce-ishness about it, right? Because I do, yeah. Look at that, wow, so much rain. This is a lot of rain. It doesn't rain hard here is the weird thing. Very rarely. It usually rains pretty gently. Gently. I'm gonna have to get gas. Probably not during this portion of drive, but soon. Soon and very soon. We are going to get some gas. Soon and very soon. Or our car will not last. And actually, I think in the original song, that's a repeated couplet. Not even a couplet. Yeah, it's just repeated lines. Oh, it's crowded, so you can actually see me here. You can't usually see me during this part because it's usually super empty. Nobody around to produce anything. Am I feeling more energetic than usual? That's odd. Why am I feeling so energetic? I don't know. I didn't have late coffee. I had a little bit of... I had like Mountain Dew with lunch. Which, I'm caffeine addicted. Pretty bad. So, a little bit of Mountain Dew, that's some extra sugar. But that shouldn't last me here, because that was, you know, hours ago. Hours and hours. Well beyond the metabolic half-life of caffeine, I think. It's anticipated that, I should study this sort of thing before I start blabbing about it. But it's my understanding that caffeine impacts your neural system for around 6 hours or so before it's really flushed. And your brain goes back to being able to regulate its shut-off times normally. So, the minuscule amount of caffeine in a Mountain Dew is not keeping me up. Sugar metabolizes way faster than that, so the boost you get there, I should be way gone. I haven't eaten since lunch. I had like a little bit of snack. I don't know. I guess I am feeling kind of animated. Well, that's good. If I can keep this kind of energy up, which usually happens when I find something really interesting to talk about. I didn't have that today. So, why am I animated? I enjoyed talking about the processor thing and the brain calculus. I hope that came through, that I was enjoying talking about what I was talking about. If not, we'll have to find a topic where I can be animated and be visibly excited about whatever it is I'm talking about. But yes, until then, you have an excellent night, and I will talk to you next time.